Hey, so hello, and welcome. I'm here on the second installment of our Spring into Summer series, and we're working on cultivating habits of care. We really frame this series. We wanted to think about, you know, we're in the final stretch of the school year. And what does it mean as we're moving from spring into summer? We're wrapping things up. We're coming toward the end, depending on where your district is and what your calendar's like. Some of us still have a month or so left. Some of us are into the final weeks. And as a resource, we really wanted to share, just kind of remind folks of the resources that we have, the different curricula that are available, and see what we can share that could be applicable in this kind of end of the school year timeframe. So for today, we are focusing on Start with the Heart, which is one of our Pure Edge curriculum resources. If you're here, you're probably familiar with Pure Edge. We're a private operating foundation, and you can read our blurb here. But really, what we do is we really like to share evidence-based strategies that support resilience and well-being, both for learners and for educators. And we work in a few other spaces as well, but our primary focus is working with young children, teens, and the adults who serve them. And my name is Erin. I'm hosting the session today, and I'm the director of curriculum here at Pure Edge, also a national trainer. I've been doing this work both with learners and educators. For a long time now, about 14 years. And I was a more standard educator before that. So I'm really grateful that you're here and I'm excited to share some resources for you. Now, I am hosting by myself today, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of teaching and a little bit of tech, and I'm going to try to get something going. We have a poll. And let's end that. Turn that off. Let's see if we can do another poll. Well, the tech is not my friend right now. We'll start with a reflection. And if I can get the poll up, we will. And if I can't, it's okay. So we want to take a moment and check in both with ourselves and with each other. So we want to say which of the following reflects how you're feeling in this moment. And you can see we have 10 options, and we always like to include number 10 because it's a blank slate. So if the first nine options aren't really reflecting where you're at this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are, you can go ahead and choose 10. And why don't we just go ahead and share in the chat? And that will also let me know if your chat is up and running. And just take a moment to reflect. And go ahead and share if you like. For myself, I am going to say that I'm a one. I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be here, happy to be sharing this work with you all, and I'm grateful that you're here with me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do our first practice. So when we do these webinars, our goal is that you experience the resources that we're going to also invite you to share with the learners. And so we'll start our session today with what we call the mindful minute. In the mindful minute, I'm going to invite you to come into a comfortable sitting position. If you're in a chair, it's great if you can uncross your legs and have both of your feet touching the ground if that's accessible for you. If you're on the floor, just find a comfortable position. And for the mindful minute, and really for all of our exercises, it's your choice whether you would like your eyes to be open or closed. So if it helps you to calm down, concentrate, relax with eyes closed, you go ahead and close your eyes. If that's not something that's useful for you, you can keep the eyes open. I do recommend just kind of gently tucking your chin so that your gaze is away from the screen. And we'll start just by bringing our attention to the breath, noticing the breath as it comes in, noticing the breath as it goes out. And let's focus on the area around the nose, right? The nostrils, the entrance point of the breath. So noticing the breath as it comes in through the nostrils, noticing the breath as it goes out. And you might notice the pace of your breathing, whether it's fast or slow. You might notice the temperature of the breath, whether it feels warm or cool. There might be something else you notice, like maybe a sense of moisture or dryness. And then from here, we'll expand our area of attention. So now just notice anywhere in the body that you feel some movement when you breathe. So take a nice gentle breath in and notice where you feel movement, maybe the chest, the back, the belly, just noticing. And now let's shift our attention one more time. See if you can let your attention rest on your heartbeat. And again, just taking note whether your heartbeat is fast, whether it's slow, and what information that might give us about, our current state. And from there, let's slowly begin to deepen the breath. Nice, gentle breath in through the nose. Nice, relaxed breath out. And if you closed your eyes, I invite you to open them. If you just had your gaze down, you can bring your attention back to the screen, back to the group. And again, I welcome you all to go ahead and put a response in the chat if um, if you'd like to share how that exercise went for you. And it will also help me because I'll know um, whether the chat is functional. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's harder. So I'm going to just go ahead and write a little welcome. And if you see it and you want to respond, go ahead. Okay, so our goals today are we're going to explore the Start with the Heart curriculum. We're going to experience the brain breaks. We've already done our first brain break of the session. And as we experience those brain breaks, again, that's just helping us to develop our own self-awareness and self-management competency areas. And it's just going to make it um, a higher quality sharing when we turn around and teach the learners. And finally, I'm going to identify an activity or two from the curriculum that will be easy for you to turn around quickly if you are looking for something to focus on in the next week or two. And we'll make sure you know how to access all the resources on the website. Okay, so I wanted to start our session with the idea of stress. And I hope that doesn't seem out of sync with the learning objectives. It actually ties really beautifully to some of the content area that's covered in the curriculum. So, and at this time of the school year, it can feel a little stressful, right? There's a good stress, right? They call that eustress, and then there's bad stress that's like distress. Good events can still stress us out, and I find, I'm not in the classroom anymore. I'm a parent, though, of some elementary age learners, and there is just a lot going on in May and the beginning of June. Lots of events, lots of fun stuff, and it's exciting, but that also can contribute to a feeling of stress. So, what is stress? Stress is a physiological reaction. So, it's something that takes place in the body and it prepares us to respond to a stressor. So our bodies are really, um, they're just really amazing. And all the different kind of systems and programs we have running allow us to constantly be calibrating to our environment and to the world and to the demands that are placed on us. And the way we respond to that is physical because our bodies are physical um, things, right? They exist in time and space. So things like we'll have our hormone levels will change. The blood flow will be directed to different areas of the body. Muscles will respond in different ways. So a lot happens when we experience stress that enables us to meet the demands of the day. And when we think about stressors, like I said, they can be good or good events, exciting events, positive things can be stressful. And then there's also, of course, the stress that comes when we're experiencing challenges and hardships. Um, and that stressor is really anything that affects the body's equilibrium because our brains and our bodies kind of like to stay in the place of balance, in a place of homeostasis. They like things to be the way they are. And so when something outside of us is asking us to change, um, our bodies respond and they try to calibrate back to the middle. So that's what a stressor is. Now, I am hopeful that folks are able to use the chat function. And if you're not able to use the chat function, and you might not have a way of letting me know that, we do also have a Q&A. So the Q&A will be another way to respond. But what I wanted you to do is reflect and think about when you personally feel stress, where do you experience that stress in the body? Okay. Okay, great. So it looks like maybe the chat's not working, but I'm getting some responses coming through the Q&A. So Nancy shared that stress shows up in her neck and shoulders. That is often the number one response that I hear, and I am very familiar with that personally. So, yeah, we get a little tightness in the neck, we get a little tightness in the shoulders. That can happen when we feel stress. I actually I can't recall the source of this, and it's more just an anecdote than a fact or whatever. But the neck and the shoulders are really the area physically that connect our minds and our hearts, right? And so sometimes when there's that movement between mind and heart, and that can feel a little stressful when it gets blocked or when we're not able to you know, manage the stressors that we have going on. Another thing I'll hear from folks, and thank you, Nancy, for sharing that your perspective. Another thing I'll hear from folks is that they feel, you'll hear stomach, you'll hear our sleep patterns that get disrupted when we're experiencing lots of stress. Um, and we'll also people talk about like headaches, racing thoughts, all kinds of different, all kinds of different responses. Okay. So the point with that exercise, and this is again something, especially if you're working with like the older learners, the 6 through 12, you can turn around and share this type of thing to help them understand that stress has an effect on the body. Now, because of timing, I'm gonna not dwell on this, but it's important for us when we're thinking about stress. We also want to remember to bring joy into the equation. So if you can also keep in mind something joyful and where you feel that in your body, that is going to benefit. I'm gonna move forward. We talked about this. So as an educator, especially at this time of year, we really want to encourage you to continue caring for yourself, right? So, all these strategies that we share, even the strategies from the curriculum, are a wonderful resource for yourself as well as the learners. And in order to have that impact that we want to have on the kids, um, we have to also take care of ourselves, right? Nurture ourselves, because we're sort of the source of all the relationships and things that happen in the classroom. Now, the strategies that we shared, Jill talked about some of these last week. Breathe, move, rest. They are simple strategies. The way that we have organized them, they're really concrete. We have video supports, we have scripted cards that can help you lead the learners through these exercises. And all of that is just designed to make it really simple for you, both to do some of these strategies for your own well-being and turn around and share them with the learners. We know that when we do this type of work over time, we increase our brain and body's ability to stay responsive under stressful situations, right? So we can not take away the stressors, right? The stressors are not really going anywhere. And we can improve our ability to navigate the stressors in our day, right? And that doesn't mean, of course, that we don't want to work to eliminate some stressors that can be reduced, but that's not what our focus is. I hope that makes sense. Um, Now, when we think about the breathing strategies, they have a huge impact. I know Jill again touched on this last week. James Nestor wrote a book called Breath. It's a really fascinating read. If you're looking for summer reading, I recommend you might want to add it. It's a fun read and it's also kind of full of lots of his experience balanced out with like science and also different folks he talked to. And he really went on a deep exploration of breathing. And really, what he found is that it's something, of course, that we all do all day, every day. And when we start to make our breathing conscious, it has a huge impact on our health and well-being. On the negative side, the poor breathing habits can really be detrimental to how we navigate life. So I encourage you to check it out. And that's just a foundation for us as we move into some of the breathing exercises. Now, in Start with the Heart, we share these brain break strategies. So the foundational pose is seated mountain, and that's just really the way to get us set up. As um, a reference, just like I said at the beginning of the mindful minute, if you're in a chair, you want the legs uncrossed. There's a little lift in the chest, there's a little softness in the shoulders, so you're sitting upright. One thing that will help that lift to happen is if you can kind of feel your sitting bones reaching toward the chair. So as you reach the sitting bones toward the chair, you feel the muscles in the core start to automatically engage. There's a little lift in the chest, there's a softness in the shoulders. And now I'm going to invite us to do a breathing exercise. So for belly heart breathing, you want one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. And we just start gently breathing in and out the nose. And just notice where you feel movement in the breath, just like we did with mindful movement. But now we have our hands as an anchor. So as you take the next breath in, notice what's moving. For many of us, it'll be the chest, right? Because we're used to breathing into our chests. On the next breath, can we invite a little movement into the belly? So this time, as you breathe in, see if you can relax the belly muscles and let the belly expand. And then feel the movement of the chest. Great. And then let the chest relax. And the belly draws back as you exhale. Let's do one more of those. Inhale, let the belly soften and expand. Then the chest. And then exhale. The chest comes down, the belly draws back. The hands relax down. Take a moment and notice how that felt. And again, if you'd like to share a response, go ahead and share in the Q&A. Um, so we're going to look a little at the Start with the Heart curriculum. We created Start with the Heart as a direct response to what the thousands of educators that we have trained started asking us for. They were like, we love these trainings, we love the session, the educators really are responding. What do we do to get started? Right? And of course, we had our Brain Breaks resource, but the Brain Breaks alone didn't have any content connected. They were just the Brain Breaks. And then we had a full curriculum that was a really deep dive, really in depth. It's lovely and it's called Pure Power, and it takes a lot of planning and effort to implement. So we made a happy medium. So Start with the Heart. We have from pre-K all the way through 12th grade. And what it does is it weaves brain breaks into really simple scripted curriculum lessons, with the exception of pre-K. For pre-K, we didn't do content. For pre-K, we scaffolded the implementation of the brain break. So we made a chart and kind of helped you, gave some pointers for how to implement. But for K through 12, there are curriculum lessons. There's 8 lessons for K through 5, I think, and 12 lessons for 6 through 12. Every lesson has brain breaks, and pretty much every lesson has like at least one breathe, at least one move, and at least one rest. The total time to deliver the lessons is about 25 to 30 minutes. And they're designed to be really easy to use. The lesson topics covered, of course, they're not identical from K through 12, but overall, we're looking at stress. We're looking at the nervous system in a developmentally appropriate way. We're looking at habits and neuroplasticity. Again, that's going to look different when you do it with kindergartners versus 12th graders, but the topic is there. And then again, every lesson has these brain break strategies embedded. So the learners are developing their own capacity for self-awareness and self-management. I had included this little chart, which really just shows the difference, brain breaks versus start with the heart. And we went over the brain breaks last week. Those can be delivered in 1 to 5 minutes. For Start with the Heart, again, it's 20 to 30 minutes. You can still use the videos if you're more comfortable with the videos versus delivering the brain breaks yourself. There's a manual for the curriculum. There's an implementation guide, and there's also you can use those brain breaks card decks. And for implementation, the Start with the Heart implementation is flexible. Our ideal recommendation is that you deliver a lesson once a week, and then on the non-lesson days, you continue to practice brain breaks. But we've had people deliver it in a variety of ways. And for the purposes of this series, we're not expecting that you're going to decide to implement a curriculum right now before the end of the school year, but we're kind of encouraging you to explore and check it out. Um, and for the upper levels, 6 through 12, you can really adapt Start with the Heart into almost any course. It fits really nicely into elective classes and advisory or homeroom settings. Um, Okay, so I'm gonna move on to what I recommend for, a little sneak peek or a little way to try some of this out. So for any of the levels, your easiest entry point is a brain break. So if you're exploring Start with the Heart and you want to look for something to share with the learners, you can start by just trying out the brain breaks. That's going to be your easiest entry point. For K through 5, there's one activity that I found, and it's called Sending Kindness to Yourself. And honestly, I think this activity would work for 6 through 12 as well. You just, how you frame the language is going to be a little bit different. The activity invites the kids to write 3 things that they like about themselves. Right? Name 3 things. So if you're working with kindergartners and writing's not a strong suit, they can do it verbally. But identify 3 things they like about themselves, and then draw a picture of yourself and how you feel after sending yourself these kind thoughts. Simple, right? It's a simple activity. It doesn't take long, but we're encouraging, our learners to be kind to themselves. And self-compassion is really the root of being able to share compassion with others, or it's one root, I'll say. There's more than one. And for 6 through 12, there's a lesson that's called What is Stress? And it sort of mirrors some of the content we covered together today. It's really relevant for those learners. When they think about, they have a lot going on. So like an example of like how that lesson starts is that you just ask them like to write down like a couple of things that are stressing them out. And then they become aware. of the stressors, right? And then again, we kind of invite them to reflect on where they might feel that stress in the body and how we can use maybe a one brain break to help release some of the stress that the body is holding. So there's real simple tools. They're all there for us. And I just wanted to kind of break it down for you. Now, as always, our resources are available on the website, and you can scan this QR code and just kind of access the resources there. If you haven't created a curriculum account, you'll need to do that before you can access all the resources. We do also have an app, and this is just for the brain breaks, but this is a lovely resource to share with the learners, especially if you're in the upper grades or access for yourself. And finally, I'm going to open it up to questions. I realize we're a little tight on time, so I'm going to do our closing brain break before questions, and then folks who want to stay can stay. So for rest your eyes, all you want to do is make a circle with your palms. So the palms are pressing into each other, and then you're just kind of circling the hands. As you press, you're gonna feel some heat generated in the palms. When that heat feels like, okay, this feels pretty good, pretty warm, I think I'm ready. I'm gonna invite you to take the heels of your palms and put them right under the eyes, and then just cup your eyes, right? So your hands are covering the eyes. The eyes can be open or closed. I prefer to close mine. And then just take a couple of breaths here. So letting the breath come in and out and in and out. And just allowing the warmth from your hands to soak into the eyes. Letting the eyes sort of soften and relax. And when you feel ready, just tuck your chin towards your chest. Keep the chest lifting up, the shoulders softening down. The hands can come back down to your lap. And then when you're ready, opening the eyes and gently returning your gaze to the screen. Okay. Yes. So Miriam has asked me to show the QR code again. Great idea. So I will bring, so here's the resource and curriculum page. So you can get that should take you directly to the place where you fill out a curriculum account. All right, great. And so I want to thank everyone so much for joining. Next week, we'll be back again looking at another curriculum resource that we have, which is the Flourish curriculum for K through 5.